So the Rama says, matzah rehila, regular matzah, asur lochla kol yom yudalid. You're not allowed to eat it the whole 14th day, which is
14
The first 14 days of Nisan.
the 14th day.
Oh, the day before Pesach.
That night is the
No,
first
it's just the
Seder.
day before. It's not 30 days before.
Correct. Mishnah Berurah adds interesting note that only starts in the morning, from dawn.
So where did the custom come not to eat it for a month before? That's not a valid custom?
No, it's a custom. I've heard it. He says, including this are the matzot that, oftentimes the custom is that when the matzot blow up or they get bubbles or they fold over, they throw them aside. They don't use it for Pesach just because it's a stringency that we shouldn't have any dough in the middle that wasn't baked. He says, even if you collected those matzahs, which might be chametz, you still can't eat them because they could still be matzah and therefore you can't eat that.
So what time would you be at that?
Dawn, 5 something in the morning, whatever that starts getting light outside. The Rama adds that if there's a child who doesn't know what they tell him, it's not,
What they tell him.
what they tell him, it doesn't comprehend the story of Yitziat Mitzrayim. If you were to tell him the story of Egypt and leaving, like Avinoam understands go, come, this, but if you tell him a story, he doesn't understand where you're going from it. He would be allowed to eat matzah on the eve of Pesach. Elchanan would not be allowed anymore. That's the age cut off. So not bar mitzvah, it's that age.
Oh, that's interesting. That's like one of the few commandments that we have that's
Very early. Correct.
a commandment.
And
Do they get correct if they have special punishment like?
no, there's not a no.
So they still are not obligated for mitzvah, but they just
Right.
Well, that's a unique one, I guess.
At least you know that in all of Halacha Pesach, men and women, boys and girls, are all equal in the obligations of the Seder, except for the laws of the Seder.
Oh.
You said
You're drinking of the cups.
It's connected to the drink of the cups. Leaning.
Oh,
A woman is not obligated to lean.
because
Oh,
it's
fascinating.
or because
Both of tzniut and other things, yeah.
It's not
And
comfortable.
even though the poskim say they could, Peretz's custom is that women don't at all, even if they
Really?
want to.
didn't you say like maybe it was last year that the leaning was designed for
Women
when
don't
you
lean,
have
what
divans
about
and
women
actual
who
places
aren't
to
leaning?
lean?
Correct. In fact,
I mean leaning like this, kind of
And-
end up elbowing
Like it-
my friend Dan here.
I much
Moroccan
prefer the
restaurants.
Pesach Seder.
Yeah,
I much prefer the
American
Pesach Seder here than in my house. The very simple reason that you're supposed to be able to lean your head also, and you can't really do that in a chair. You only do that when you're up against the wall. In fact, in my parents' house for the Seder, the men sit up against the wall and the women sit on the other side of the table. That way they can lean using their heads also. And for the most part, though, it's very difficult to do that in the modern way that you sit today.
So these wealthy
Is
Jews
it
in
online?
Brooklyn, whatever, go with buy like high back chairs and stuff.
No, I don't
for
think
their
it's funny. It's
women.
one of those mitzvot that they're not particular about. So,
Oh,
if
okay.
but if they would, you see them like transform their house probably into some kind of Persian era dining situation.
Have you seen that in Israel? Does anybody do that in Israel? They get like.
Yeah, I've seen the
special-
balei batim, like the host will do such a thing.
If my wife and I are actually using that.
It's not a bad idea. That's what my wife, and my seder, she always brings the big. It's like an office chair, like an executive office chair. The only reason because it covers your head and you can lean on it and it counts.
She uses it or she gives it to you?
No, she gives it to me.
Okay. What a gal. What a woman.
Mishabah asked an interesting thing. What is included in the category of things you cannot eat in Erev Pesach? He said, if you would take matzah meal and you knead it with wine and oil, it's forbidden to be eaten even on Erev Pesach. So even though, like a matzah ball, I guess, that would be forbidden on Erev Pesach.
It's forbidden.
It's forbidden. And then you see here on Halacha Zayin, if you look in the middle of the page, B'katav Chaye Adam, Rabbi Abraham Danziger writes, Shehu adin metugenet muteret, that if you fry the matzahs, you would be allowed to eat that on the eve of Pesach.
That's
Yeah, matzah bread. In fact, that's the biggest dilemma of what happens when Pesach falls down on Saturday night. What do you eat for Sudah Shishit?
Yeah.
And
Every time that happens.
Rabbi Yonatan Halev's suggestion is to take matzot before the Shabbat, to fry them with eggs, like make a matzah brai out of it, and then to eat that, because that's not, you cannot eat cooked matzah for the Seder. That doesn't, you don't fulfill your obligation with that kind of matzah. It's also not chametz, and therefore he holds that that's a middle ground, and it's probably based on Chayei Adam, which says that if it's fried, it's already a new creation, and even though it's not chametz, it's also not matzah with which you can fulfill the mitzvah of the Seder, and you can eat that for the Seder.
So
What
have
bracha
to-
do you
Well,
say
why
on
don't you
it?
just
Oh.
have,
It's a fantastic question. What bracha do you say in it? What?
why don't you just have something like egg and hard-boiled egg?
Because l'chatchila you have to have something you can make hamotzi on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean you could. There are shittot that say you can have eggs or fruits or fish, but
Yeah.
that's only b'diavad.
And that's because it's the first 2 days of Pesach and al achilat matzah is for the Seders.
Correct.
But-
Our rabbis say that one who eats matzah, it's an expression from our rabbis, one who eats matzah is like one who has relations with his fiancée the eve of their wedding in his father-in-law's house. Like, why not just wait till tonight? What were you rushing for? This is what the Chachamim write. This kind
It's
of
quite a comparison.
Yeah.
it's a pretty drastic comparison.
When you say you can't have matzah, it's just like, so for the Seder, if the Seder is Friday night, it's from Friday morning at dawn? Or is it?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, me?
Yeah, see, I'm trying to find the document, I don't,
Oh, it's in the, if you go to Google Classroom, it's the
Google
Shiviti
Classroom.
Night Kollel.
Google Craftsman. It's way beyond my rank here.
Is that an iPhone? You want me to find it?
No, it's not the Android. I got it someplace, I'll just figure it out.
So Peretz says, what blessing do you make on it? Here's something interesting. He says, if in that piece of fried matzah there's an amount of a kazait. What is a kazait?
So it's an olive.
Alone.
7 olive. But not that much matzah is a kazait, you know that. It has to be a little bit bigger.
'Cause
Than
it's,
Because it's mostly air.
Yeah, so a little more than that. HaRav Peretz has a chart here. These are the different features of a kazait. And he says the smallest one that they say, it's like only if
yeah.
you're sick you can eat that much. He says this is for sure a kazait, this middle piece over here. That's for sure a kazait size.
It's like
That's when you make the
like
mitzvah of achilat matzah.
Correct.
Zayit.
Bro, you want to zoom into that?
Should we measure?
Now, obviously, we're not measuring here, but if you have that much matzah in a piece, then says you have to make a mutzi because that's considered still a piece of bread. But if not, but you could still tell that it's matzah. Let's say it's small enough, you can still tell it's matzah pieces. He says there's a big doubt what bracha you make on it.
Especially if you prepare like the whole matzah cracker.
Now, HaRav Peretz disagrees with the whole halacha. HaRav Peretz says, I'm sorry, but so long as it's fried just a little bit. How much do they fry that matzah bread?
Not that much.
Yeah, that's right. You take it off. You
But
It's
it's usually
basically
with eggs, though.
yeah. It's
They
basically
fry
it's a
the
fried.
eggs.
It's a fried matzah,
Right,
and he holds you shouldn't be eating that on the eve of Pesach.
that makes more sense.
This is that. Even though yes, it's fried. It's a different food. It's not cooked enough. You know, the Pusim we're talking about a situation where it really goes through a process of it becomes something else.
You have to make like a pancake.
So he's saying, despite it goes through that process, it's
It's still not. It's maybe you could argue you shouldn't use it for the seder, but don't tell me that it's not at all recognizable as a
It's
matzah
totally
that you could eat it on the eve of Pesach.
Denise's lasagna might.
My God.
got in, yeah.
Matzah lasagna?
Lasagna.
Lasagna.
Matzanya.
Now the Ramah says the next halakha. Notice how many of these halachot are from the Ramah. They're not in Maran. Doesn't even talk about that. The Ramah says it says Samech Gimel on the right side. See Samech Gimel? That means Siv Gimel. Ramah. Mitzvah lichotz. It's a mitzvah to shower, ulgalech, and to shave. Be'erev Yom Tov, on the eve of Yom Tov. V'libosh b'gadim na'im, and to wear nice clothing, kmo b'Shabbat, like on Shabbat. So you should dress up for Yom Tov. The Mishnah Berurah says right underneath, Nachon shitasek b'dinei korban Pesach v'yachshov la'akadosh baruch hu kilu kiyem b'voar. you should be thinking on the eve of Pesach the laws of the Korban Pesach, the sacrifice of Pesach.
Thinking about
Study them, learn them, and you find in our Siddur that there is the laws of the Korban Pesach. That way you could. It's considered as if you offered a Pesach offering right here.
Sound like you?
Yes. Now Maran says the clothing of the holiday should be even nicer than the clothing of Shabbat.
Is it?
Yeah.
So what page are we on? Is there a translation?
No.
There's not even a typed up version. How can there be a translation?
And that's probably one reason why you wear a special.
Yes, that is why I wear Yom Tov clothing, because it should be something nicer than what I wear in Shabbat. And this is an old minhag you'll find here. The Mishnah Berurah says, why should it's made more sense when the Ramah said that Yom Tov and Shabbat should be the same. But why should Yom Tov be better?
But I don't know where.
Why should you have nicer clothing on Yom Tov than on Shabbat?
Simchat Yom Tov.
Very good. Yes. Mishnah Berurah says, Mishum dechayav besimcha, because you are obligated besimcha to be happy. Zeu gamken bichla simcha libosh b'gadim naim, and therefore it's included in happiness is to dress nice. Dressing nice makes people feel happy.
But you have to have simcha also on Shabbos.
No,
Yes, you have to be happy on Shabbos.
not officially.
Not officially?
Of course, you're supposed to be happy all the time. I'm not being a misnagid over here, something like that. Here I'm telling you just the mitzvah of being happy is on Yom Tov.
Okay.
Therefore, that includes dressing nicely for Yom Tov.
It doesn't say anything about being happy on Shabbat.
Shabbat.
It doesn't? Wow, I must have made it up.
You're not supposed to be sad.
There's oneg Shabbat.
Yeah.
Very good.
Joy.
Oneg Shabbat, Kavod Shabbat, but Simchat Shabbat.
No? Okay, well, we just made it.
And then he says, right before that big long line, V'katav Birkei Yosef, acronym. Birkei Yosef. Who wrote the Birkei Yosef, the knees of Yosef? Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai. The Chida. He writes, Shechen nahagu b'glilotenu. In our communities, in our neighborhoods, that's what we did. Hamechabdim Shabbatot v'Yom Tov. Liot lehem b'gadim naim miuchadim liyom tov. They are respect Yom Tov by having special clothing that they only wear for Yom Tov. It's an important thing to have something different than the Shabbat. If you want gold robes, I can arrange for them.
How about?
What's the story with the gold robes? Some people always.
Golden Rose?
Have you been here on Yom Tov before?
I don't
They're just on
remember.
Shabbat.
Can you have access to things like jalabas, like the nice?
Yeah,
felt
sure.
ones, not like the plastic ones.
No, they're made of cloth, fabric.
Yeah, like
They sell them
the black
online
ones.
today. If you can order a lot of beautiful things on the internet today. And some of the things I don't order is just it gives certain people heart palpitations. It's a brown guy in Arabic clothing. It scares people a little bit. But there's some beautiful things to wear. There's a whole line of, they call them thobes, Thobe. If you put it on Amazon, doesn't have so many, but say eBay or just the internet, in general internet, you'll find some beautiful, like Turkish kind of cotton and other things, and denim and embroidered things, very beautiful things that people wear. The clothes of the West have nothing on the clothes of the East. Some really beautiful outfits over there. And that's the idea, is to dress nice. Why gold? The gold robes today, you're only going to see Hasidim in Israel wearing gold robes. The story is when those gold robes are Iraqi Sephardic robes, you find the Ben Ish Chais wearing those robes. And when the Ashkenazim come to Israel, in the later Aliyahs, the Arabs start killing them. Because they feel that they're crusaders. They're coming from, speaking something that sounds like German. They don't look like Jews, they don't sound like Jews, they don't dress like Jews. And the first thing that the Ashkenazi community did was survival mode. We'll dress however we need to dress to fit in here. And they started wearing Sephardic clothing. And what you have is something very interesting. In
That's
the
Israel,
founding-
you're saying?
They also
Israel,
started
yeah.
eating kitniyot?
No. In the founding years of the state of Israel, what happens is that the Sfaradim all go to Ashkenazi yeshivot. And they start wearing Ashkenazi clothing.
That's
And
where,
the only people left today in Israel wearing Sephardic clothing as a community are the Hasidim. They're wearing the gold robes and the black robes on weekdays and the white robes on Yom Kippur. And so once I was walking with HaRav Peretz and he grabbed one of his Hasidim with the gold robe. He said, look what an upside down world it is. I'm wearing your grandfather's clothing, and you're wearing my grandfather's clothing. So I said, but maybe we should switch. He laughed. So I switched. On the holidays, I wear that. Those days, it's ours.
So on Purim, they probably cross-dress.
Yeah, no, on Purim what happens? The Hasidim wear fezes. That's their custom. In Jerusalem, they all wear red hats. Because that's the opposite. They're dressing like Sephardic people. But really, the whole year they dress like Sephardic people.
These thobes are only 30, 40 bucks.
They're not very expensive. No. And if you put embroidered thobes, you'll find even nicer things. What could be nice for a Yom Tov? So every Yom Tov has a different feeling, a different thing. But you don't have to be so afraid. You look at afraid, what can I wear? Something nice. It makes you feel happy. Baruch Hashem, it's a mitzvah to buy clothing for our spouse. It's a mitzvah for our children to buy nice things. It's a mitzvah to come into Yom Tov feeling happy.
I'd like to order one. I just don't want to be on their mailing list.
They ship it to someone else's address.
Oh my God. Oh wow.
Let's see.
Stop by. We'll stop by that anti-Semite's house. Say, do you mind if I receive a package? I'll be out of town next week. Can you sign for it?
Wow.
You'll probably get 2 visits, one from like a terrorist organization and the other from the FBI.
So what is this rope supposed to be?
It's handsome. I like it.
It says, yes, he did. I would not want to use.
I don't know that he wants you reading his text.
No, I didn't.
Why can't we eat matzah on Erev Pesach? There's 4 reasons for this. The first, the Rambam's reason is very simple. Just so that you will realize that what you're eating tonight is a special food. If you ate it the whole day, then it's not special anymore. The second, the Rokeach, he brings us down. He mentions that the Korban Pesach is forbidden to be eaten on the day of Pesach. You have to wait till the Eve. And therefore the same thing with the actual Pesach itself. And the Meiri, remember the French Rishon that we were reading about once? He says the reason is you have an appetite for matzah. I know it sounds kind of funny to have an appetite for matzah. And there are people who love matzah, so I won't tell them off, but an appetite for matzah, meaning like on Erev Shabbat, you're not supposed to be so stuffed that when you come to the meal, you don't have any room to eat anything. You want to be eating at the Seder. Some want to say, the Bahag, the Baal HaChodolot, he says that there's a certain pasuk that says in the eve you shall eat matzot, and even though that's not what it means in that pasuk, but it's like an allusion that in the evening you wait to eat the matzot, and really there's no clear reason for why we don't eat the matzot. The Rambam's is probably the most simple, just so you can make and that's why not 30 days, just a day. It's kind of like we blow the shofar all the days of Elul. In the eve of Rosh Hashanah we don't blow. Why don't we blow? The first person to say to confuse the Satan, I'm going to be mad. Why don't we blow?
Because you want to differentiate.
Yeah, you want to differentiate between the blowings that we do as a custom, which is during Slichot, and the blowing that you actually do for a mitzvah. That's the reason why we don't blow. You can add the Satan to this story too, but it's not what it means. Now, if we're talking about what you cannot do on the eve of Pesach, there's something you have to do on all of the days of Pesach, and that is what appears right here in the bottom, the last 2 sentences. Chayav lishtot yain. You must drink wine bechol yemei hachag, every single one of the days of the holiday.
All 8 days?
Ken katav biur halacha, that's what the biur halacha writes, b'sov hilchot Yom Tov, then of the laws of Yom Tov. V'lo v'ilu basar, and meat, hu mitzvah, lo chiyuv. It's a mitzvah, but not an obligation. Wine is an obligation. Why? Rabbi said, simcha b'yayin, yayin is samach levav enosh. King David says wine makes a person's heart happy. Therefore, a person has an obligation to drink, how much?
Every day?
Half a glass of
Does it
wine.
have to be grape wine or could it be like sake or something?
It has to be grape wine, but listen, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you want to do,
Could it be grape
I don't
juice?
like wine. So
Never
obviously
drank
this is not included in your Simchat Yom Tov, you understand?
Grape juice.
Oh.
Wine.
Okay.
If you can get
Why?
rid of wine that they don't
Could it
make
be
anymore.
diluted?
And it's no longer wine?
Oh yeah, what is the
No.
story with dilution in general? I mean, if you have wine,
Well, we're all
can you
diluted
weaken
in
it
a way.
with 50% water? Or?
Your wine is already pretty diluted by the time you get it.
But there's no kiddush during the intermediate days, right? No,
Correct, which is why you have to differentiate here. V'samachta, when it says you have to be happy. What's happiness? Our Chachamim tell us happiness is through the drinking of wine. That's the definition of
Dark
happiness.
chocolate.
Well, that's the excuse given by Chabad to
Wine. Not vodka, not whiskey, not tequila. Wine.
wine.
Half a glass of wine is not getting anybody drunk.
Okay.
Now, you don't have to if you're the person that makes you suffer. I didn't tell you. So now I don't like to drink wine. So I go and I buy a few bottles of Bartanura Moscato or whatever
Oh,
thing
yeah,
that I can handle half a cup of.
Definitely not wine.
and every single day you drink. And sometimes it's a problem because you have to drive to work or you have to make sure you drink at the right time. You're not gonna get drunk, but you don't want to
At your
take a
desk.
breathalyzer test on Chol Hamoed Pesach. So you make sure you do that right. That's a halacha that most people don't know.
It's a
No.
halacha.
I really wonder, the wine that's called wine now is so different from what
What real
originally
wine
was.
is. In Yerushalayim, we used to buy this dry, red, non-pasteurized, organic
It's
wine.
thick,
Oh,
and you do
wow.
dilute
And it was so strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kind of you drink mamash just for kiddush and your head started spinning.
yeah.
Mhm.
The
Real, for real.
alcohol
Wow.
content is high.
Must be quite high.
And it's like a deep red. I can't even tell you how red
Yeah.
this wine is. It's like a different color even.
Bring some back.
Yeah. This is a
Can't drink this
You know how
commercial
Peretz,
wine.
whenever I go to Peretz, he has a student who owns vineyards.
Oh, wow.
And he makes a special kind of wine just for HaRav Peretz.
Hmm.
And lately, when I've been going to HaRav Peretz, he always gives me a gift of a bottle of wine. I always want to bring it back, but I'm sure they're going to confiscate it from me in the airport.
Actually, no, I think you're allowed
Yeah,
to.
are you allowed to bring back a bottle
Yeah,
of
you're
wine?
allowed to have a certain amount of alcohol to come into the country.
Interesting. I always give it to my father when we do kiddush on it.
Like a bottle or
But
two.
I always feel like it's a waste. Like, oh, well, HaRav Peretz bottle of wine. Like that.
Yeah, I think you can take back. I think you can bring in
Yes.
like 2 liters or 4 liters a person or something. So
Interesting. Even though there are no liquid rules and the
You
think
put
it's
it
you
in
should
your
have-
you
luggage.
have to
Put it in
pack
the
it.
luggage.
It's gonna
and
be
put it
luggage.
underneath the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, underneath the plane.
Yeah, you
And
can't
then you
take
get
it
to
on
San
board.
Diego and all your white shirts are purple.
No,
you
you don't
have
say
to get a
kiddush
special
Put it in a
box.
box.
for
Box
it.
for it, right?
Or a plastic bag.
Okay.
The,
That's the next thing.
Oh, but Israel doesn't care about the liquids going this way.
Israel doesn't care this way, correct.
Yeah,
But
they
you
wanna
have to do
sell
a
them.
second security check in New York if you take a stopover. If you go straight to LA, you
oh
don't
yeah,
have
if
to.
you go straight to LAX, you're okay. But if you go to New York, then and
Yeah.
they make you move your bags.
And then you're checking like a domestic passenger.
When you
Yeah.
when you're in the Tel Aviv airport, they have this whole big duty-free store with all the liquor you can,
Yeah.
walls of it you can think
And
of.
they
there.
put in a special sealed bag, so
Right.
they know you haven't tampered with it.
Right.
I almost bought some wine. I had like a gift certificate and a bunch of chocolates.
Ah, good child.
Yeah, but the wine that repairs that, it tastes of the soil of the land of Israel.
Wow.
I can't explain
Really?
it otherwise.
Wow.
It tastes like
I'd love
it's
to try that.
I'm not a wine guy, but it's a very
Next time.
Yeah, the last bottle of wine I bought before bought last time I was in Israel was, looks like your bottle was like, I think it came out to like $6 or $8. It was like probably about 30,
Is
40
any other
shekels.
alcohol
It
kosher
tasted
with
so terrible.
There are lists of
Why?
alcohol
Why?
that
You
goes
couldn't
there was
drink
a
it. It was
rice sake
dry,
that was
you
going
mean? It was
around
very dry.
It was
from
just
Japan in
bad.
Costco 2 years
You-
ago, and
you-
I called the
You
manufacturer.
go in
and
there
it was
and there's
okay
like
for Pesach.
50, 60
I have a
different
list. I
brands
don't
of
drink
wine.
Yeah,
alcohol,
there
so I
are
don't have all
some.
the-
There's a lot. Yeah.
And some are good and some are just
Well,
like
probably
coffee
America
and
gets the
Right,
best.
let's
of
say
it.
that.
So,
Let's talk about the sales. It's on page where it says, I don't know why it says both 9 and 10 on top. I don't know why 8 and 7. I'm not sure what's going on with the numbers. But it says 9 and 10 on top.
Arabic numbers, not quite.
Well,
all numbers are Arabic.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
certainly helps to have a hard copy.
Here he's quoting Sif Aleph, the Halacha Aleph. Yesh shulchano aruch miba'od yom. Your table should be set already by the daytime, before the holiday comes. K'dei lechol miyad k'shtechshach, so that you can eat immediately when it gets dark. So from here you find that Maran, the custom was on the eve of Pesach, and many Shabbatot was to pray early, that you finished the services before it even got dark outside. That way you could get home for dark and pray and eat right away the Seder as soon as it gets dark.
So we do tomorrow.
You pray when the sun is still out. Va'af im hu b'beit midrash.
With the minion, that's what
And even if he's in the Beit Midrash, Yakum, he should get up and pray mitzvah lemaher lechol b'shvil hatinokot shelo yishnu. There's a mitzvah to hurry home and to eat quickly so the babies, the children will not fall asleep. Aval but lo yomar kiddush ash techshach. You have to be careful that the kiddush part of your seder you don't start until it gets dark out. So you have to wait for the actual darkness to make the kiddush. But think about the time it takes to get home and then to sing Kadesh Urchatz and the table and this. You
everybody
know,
sat at the table.
Yeah.
and-
K'dei lechol miyad. HaRav Peretz wants to comment. See here what HaRav Peretz is doing is breaking down the Shulchan Aruch into pieces. So you see Aleph over there, it's a small letter. K'dei lechol miyad, in order to eat immediately. And this page looks like it was written to be printed. I'm just telling you. The lines under everything, lines are meant to be bolded in HaRav Peretz's text. That's why often, sometimes he writes lines just to write straight. He sees he's getting crooked, so he makes lines.
We have to get him some lined paper. He can
I
do a
buy him
college rule.
whenever I come to, I buy him lined paper and whiteout and these kind of things. But
There's some moleskin journals.
He doesn't use a computer.
Doesn't-
he doesn't know how to use a computer. he used to try to get his wife to study how to use a computer, but she was always, no, they say the computers are evil. And he was always fight with her. He's like, okay, what can I do? I can make her learn how to use computers. But, one day. Lav dafka lechol miyad. No, it doesn't mean you have to eat right away. And then, kamo shamar be'emshech, like it means later on, mitzvah lechol bishvil hatinokot. It's a mitzvah to eat so the babies don't fall asleep. Klomar, shelo yitagvu melechol, so the children don't hold back from eating. Shim yedu she'od zman rav lechol, if the children know, there's so much, they say they're so long, so I'm going to eat. Yesh chashash sheyishnu, there's a fear that maybe they'll go to sleep. V'lo yishalu, they won't ask any of the questions they need to ask by the Seder. One of the main reasons for this night, bishvil haktanim, it's for the children. Shneimar, v'igata levincha b'yom you should tell your children on that day. And so if all your children are already passed out by the time the Seder starts, then what do we accomplish? Shemitzvah lemaher lechol. So this is bet. It's a mitzvah to hurry to eat. He says membet, that stands for Mishnah Berurah.
So it's a mitzvah to hurry to eat the meal.
Not to hurry the eating process, to hurry to reach the part where you eat.
That's interesting because it's you would.
It's the opposite of what is done
Because then you
today.
have to wait after midnight before you start again.
Yes.
Good.
Ratzan Omar, it means to say, Lihizdarez lasot haseder, to hurry to start doing the seder.
You talk about the matzah.
Kedei shelo yishnu hatinokot, so that the children won't fall asleep. Kshedu shelo yishnu arbe ad achila, umemela yishnu men shana, v'yashiv lehem v'kem hashtav v'gad l'chman b'emahu. There's a biblical commandment, v'gad levincha, you must tell your child b'emahu on that day. How are you going to do it if they're all sleeping? The next thing he quotes a Shin Hei Tzadi, that's the Shaar HaTziyun. That's the Mishnah Berurah's commentary on himself, Chavetz Chaim's commentary on himself. And he says, but you also have to be careful. I'm reading the second line. Mikol makom mem mem, en lachilam harbe. Don't feed them too much, the kids. Sha'ad rabba, because of the contrary. Tzvei yesh lachu shishnu al yedei zeh. If you feed the kids too much, they'll also pass out because of that.
Right.
So you have to keep a balance here, he says. And then he tells here, Nalif. Nalif, what does it stand for? Nira li Yaakov Peretz. It appears to be Yaakov Peretz. Yesh lachinam perot v'yirakot. Give them fruits and vegetables. V'lo matzah. Don't give them matzah. Sheyesh ba mitzvat chinuch u'vizmana. By the matzah, there's actually a mitzvah to eat it at the right time and to educate your child to eat the matzah at the right time. But until they reach the... You want to give the kids something to eat at the table while they're waiting for the Seder kid going? Give them everything, just don't give them matzah. Teach them the matzah is eaten at the time where we do motzi matzah, where we say hamotzi. Other things give them though. My grandfather used to always have dried fruits or things like that. He would hand out to the kids, things that were exciting for them, to make them wait. And then he says in Daled, you see Daled? Ava lo yomar kiddush ad shtechshach. You should not say kiddush until it gets dark. The tool, he's quoting the tool. Who's the tool?
Torah.
Is the predecessor to the Shulchan Aruch.
Oh, yeah.
He is the son of the Rosh. He writes, quote, V'af al gav de v'shar Shabbatot v'yom tov, even on other Shabbatot and holidays, zicholim lehosif michol el HaKodesh, you can add from the weekday to the holiday, meaning you can start early. Pesach Shani. Pesach is different. Dizman achilat matzah, you know, el balayla, because you have to eat the matzah at night.
That's when it was commanded.
Correct. Now let's skip down 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. V'katav azeh Bet Yosef. And the Bet Yosef wrote concerning this, Af agav shekodem shisem Haggadah v'yageh lechol matzah umaro yeh laila mamash. Even if you start your Seder early, for sure by the time you reach the matzah, it's going to be dark, no? So why is he being so careful here? Yeah, who's going to be able to finish the Haggadah between Arvit and still reach the matzah before the sun has set outside? Nobody. Mikol makom kos. How many cups of wine do you have to drink on Pesach? 4. Kos shel kiddush shu echad midalet kosot. So, but don't forget that the cup of kiddush, which you start the Haggadah with, is one of the 4 cups, and that's why you have to make sure that before you say kiddush, it's dark outside, because for sure it's going to be dark by the time you eat the matzah. But you have to make sure that the first glass of wine you drink it before the sun sets, after the sun sets.
So is there 3 stars or how dark?
It's shtechshach. Normally that means that halakha 3 stars, like when Motzei Shabbat time would end. But for sure after sunset. I mean, for sure it has to be that late at least. And then he says, "V'gam echad sha'ar yirakot." V'yeter shinuyim, and all the other vegetables that we dip and all these things to the ma'ol, all of that is part of what we need to do at the right time. Oh, look, this is the line for Zev. You see the next paragraph? Ad shetachshach. The first word in line is ad. Ayin dalet. The ayin looks like a fish upside down.
Yeah.
This is under, also
Yeah, under dalet. It's
down?
the second
Oh, I see,
paragraph.
yeah. Shach.
Ad shetachshach. So Mishnah Berurah says, Pirush, that means dark, lachar tzedek kochavim, after the 3 stars come out. Nalif. Appears to me, HaRav Yaakov Peretz. Uchdat ha-geonim. This is the opinion of the geonim. Shehu ke-20 dakot achar shkiah, which is 20 minutes after sunset. Ubdiavad, but if after the fact, if kidesh achar peleg mincha, if you wait until the time for mincha, you fulfill your obligation. When is plag ha-mincha, they call it? When is that? So I'll give you an example today what that is. So let's say that today the sun set at 6:54. Yeah, that's when sunset was. So Plag HaMincha is at 5:40. Meaning from 5:40, there are, I don't know if you know how the schedule of the day works out, but the earliest time to pray Mincha is going to be, let's say today was at 1:30. That's called Mincha Gdola. That's the earliest time to pray Mincha. Some Chachamim say that the day ends an hour before sunset. That's an argument of the Gemara. The first page of the Gemara, we don't reach a conclusion. Some say it's at Plag Mincha, which would mean that the latest time to say Mincha is before 5:40. And some say no, you can say Mincha up until 6:40, when is the regular sunset. Here's the problem. We oftentimes do like both opinions. What we do is we'll pray Mincha after 5:40, yeah? But then we'll pray Aravit before the sun sets, before 6:40, which means we're praying Mincha at the right time, according to the rabbis who say that you have to wait until dark to pray Arvit. But we pray Arvit at the time where the rabbis who say that you could pray Arvit at that time, at 5:40 to 6:40, they say you can't pray Mincha when you pray Mincha. So you're following 2 different opinions that contradict each other. The Maran says so long as you're with a minyan, you can rely on one opinion for Mincha, one for Arvit. In most places, like where we only get a minyan once at night, that's what they do. Pretty much every, I don't know any synagogue that doesn't do that. I know that in Bet Jacob they have like a late minyan, for example, a 9 p.m. Arvit. I don't know if that's for this reason or just because they have classes or whatever else goes on over there.
So if you say Ma'ariv before dark, you have to repeat Shema, right?
Shema.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Maran does right if you're a special chassid, everyone knows you're a righteous person, maybe Amidah you should repeat also. But nobody
It's
here,
90% of it.
nobody,
So, yeah, I mean,
maybe you, but we're not the people he's talking about, you know, it's like the, okay. So it depends, as long as it was after 5:40, it would be allowed. B'diavad, you shouldn't do it, but it's okay. Now, what time for the kiddush?
Kiddush?
Really?
Really, 5:40?
Really, you should be doing kiddush at 7:30. That's the halakha. Why does he say like the opinion of the Geonim? Who are the Geonim? Do you know this famous war between Rabbeinu Tam and the Geonim? Rabbeinu Tam holds that sunset is at, so we hold sunset 6:54. Rabbeinu Tam holds that the night begins at 8:06 tonight.
Why?
He has a different calculation of times, and the simplest thing is to say that where he lived, there was a larger space between sunset and dark nightfall. But even there's 101 answers given to why Rabbeinu Tam said what he said. The problem is that many people here they keep Rabbeinu Tam Motzei Shabbat. They wait for the 72-minute mark.
Right.
Now, even though Sfaradim, there are many that did that, and even Maran himself, he contradicts himself in Shulchan Aruch, which opinion you should follow. Regardless of what you want to prove, Maran said, the Sephardic community and the Ashkenazi community both follow the opinion of the Geonim, which predates Maran, and that is that nightfall is nightfall. 7:30 is nightfall. 8:06, that's you do whatever you want with that. But the sun sets when the sun sets, and nightfall is when nightfall is. And that's what I was saying is don't think nightfall I'm telling you have to wait till 8. Nightfall is the regular nightfall, not the one of Rabbeinu Tam.
Is it an actual mitzvah to extend Shabbat at the end?
In the beginning and in the end. Which we do. We already extend Shabbat.
By
Yeah, I
the
don't
time- By the time you finish this and that.
want to do
Yeah.
more than that? Yeah, for sure. Whatever you want to Shabbat, as long as you're not convincing anybody that's the halakha. That's the problem. Those people who keep Rabbeinu Tam are busy telling everybody else that Now they use Rabbeinu Tam also to the wrong side. I was once waiting for a minyan for Alvit in Muncie, and they were praying mincha of Shabbat afternoon after the 3 stars came out.
Wow.
Because Rabbeinu Tam holds the sun didn't set yet. I said, look,
Yeah.
with all due respect to Rabbeinu Tam wasn't stupid. If Rabbeinu Tam was standing right here and he would look out the window, he would agree with me the sun set, no? He wouldn't stand here. My halachic opinion is that that dark thing there, the sky, is still daytime. They would not say such a thing. In the words of Rabbi Shalom Masas, that you can follow Gaonim, you can follow Rabbeinu Tam, everybody has to follow Hashem. Hashem says, Vayikra Elohim la'or yom, and Bereshit, and God calls light day, V'lachoshech kara layla, and when there's darkness, God calls that night. That's the definition of day and night. Don't stick your head here at Gaonim, Rabbeinu Tam, 72 minutes, 42 minutes. There's a very simple definition. What is day and what is night? Okay, he adds here, Siv Bet. Yisader shulchano yafeh b'kelim na'im. You should set your table with very nice utensils. Kifi kocho. Everyone and what they can afford and what they can handle. Notice Maran doesn't say. Is Maran actually? I don't have.
Which one?
Hey, from over here. Yeah, no, that's it. Hey, you see hey?
Can I ask you one quick thing? This, Vav here,
What?
is this a shorthand for Yom Tov?
Yud Vav Tet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yom
good.
Tov. Very good. Yeah, this is Maran. Maran says that you should set your table with very nice dishes. Kifi kocho, as is your strength. And I'm not telling you this is what Maran meant, but I'm telling you this is what it should mean. It's not just how much money you have, how many utensils you put out. Also the strength that the people in your house have to clean up after the seder, to wash dishes after the seder. What else? Take that into consideration. I'm being very real about it. Kifi kocho, how much strength you have. V'yichin makom moshavon, and you should arrange the place where you sit in a way sheshev be'seba derech chirut, so you'll be able to sit in a way of heseba, of leaning, in a way that shows freedom. You should be very comfortable the way you sit. Ve'afilu ani she'en lo karim yesev al hasafsal. And Ramah says even a poor person who doesn't even have pillows should be leaning even on a bench, a hard wooden bench. You have to understand here, you're talking about 2 different societies. Maran is telling you should feel like a king. Make sure you sit like a king with fancy dishes and a plate. And Ramah says, listen, even if you're poor like us, you don't even have pillows, the Ramah says, at least you should lean on a hard bench.
Yeah.
It tells you so, on a social level, what the Jews were economically, where the Sfaradim were sitting, where the Ashkenazim were sitting.
You know, the problem is that the spirit of leaning is to be comfortable, like the upper classes.
And people lean like,
And
and they get all kinds, they need a chiropractor.
the
afterwards.
actual reality is when people start leaning without the
Like a
proper
chiropractor
supports,
Tuesday.
you wind up contorting yourself into
The way one should lean, and these chairs are not conducive to that. But don't film me, okay? Don't. No, you can leave it on. Just don't like move the camera.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll sit here. At the very least, you should be sitting
That's comfortable?
like this.
Oh, wow. That's quite an angle. Like 40, more than
You just
45
got
degrees.
bad posture then.
You still need a chiropractor up to that.
I'm not telling you this, and that's why I built down my pillows. But you know those ottomans that people lay on? That's what a person used to be using by a seder. Only peasants sat in chairs. You know, this is a
So Gershom should come to these classes. We should get a lot
for
of
sure.
pictures.
That's how we got all the business. We have an arrangement. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Membership's up.
I love that. Kickbacks.
that's what I call kickback.
Yeah.
The kelim naim with nice utensils. You see how it's not supposed to be a dollar, but you're right. Okay. Maybe it's a hay actually. It's a hay. Mishnah Bu'av v'afal gav v'bechol hashana tov lamed b'zeh. Even though the whole year you shouldn't be eating with such fancy utensils. Mishum zecher l'churban, because of the remembrance of the destruction of the temple. Is the Jewish community even conscious of that halacha? That your table should never be so fancy during the year because the Beit HaMikdash is destroyed. To live with a constant feeling that the Beit HaMikdash is destroyed.
Hmm.
You know, on the East Coast, it's a beautiful thing. When you go places, many Jews have a halacha which they have opposite the doorway, or some want to read on top of the doorway, whatever way you want to read it. It's really opposite the doorway. They have a 4x4 area which is not painted.
In Israel, you find that.
In Israel, of course, that's the halacha. Halacha, you can't live in a house that doesn't have it. Unless you don't own your house. You don't own your house, then the non-Jewish landlord doesn't have an obligation to not paint part of his wall. But if you own your house, there's no reason, according to halacha, not that it has to be ugly. It should be something, if someone walks into your house and says, what, they forgot to paint your house? Say, no, I'm Jewish, and there's no Beit HaMikdash, and so long as there's not a Beit HaMikdash, my house will not be complete. That is a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch.
Never heard that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I heard that.
People are so strict about the craziest things.
Amot, right? Or from the
The
4 feet.
4
4 feet seems a lot.
no, it's not. It's not 4.
I thought it was more like 1 amot by 1 amot square, which is like 18 inch by 18 inches. No, it's not.
Let me just finish the teaching of the Mishnah Berurah. He says here that even though the whole year you shouldn't do this, meaning you have to have such a fancy table, but the Pesach mitzvah larbot, shezeu b'chadei chirut, and Pesach is a mitzvah to do this because you want to be free, like a wealthy kid, a free
Leaning,
person.
you're talking about?
No, that having fancy utensils at the table. Some Chachamim want to say, someone of Chachamei Ashkenaz once wrote, that a beautiful thing. He says all of the things that you have in the sea, you have in Egypt, you have a remembrance of them at the Seder. The bitter herbs and the charozet and the matzot and he says, where's the remembrance of the beautiful things that we got, the bounty we got from the sea?
Oh, the gold utensils.
So he writes that that's why the custom of the Jewish people is to set the table so nicely. That's in remembrance of that. And every year on Pesach, I tell my family that. That according to Chachamei Ashkenaz, that's one of the reasons why we do that. Let me read through Shulchan Aruch. And we'll probably end with this part today. Mishchara Bet HaMikdash. From when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. If you want, in Sefaria, you could do this. Go to Shulchan Aruch. Orach Chaim. Orach Chaim. To chapter 560.
Oh, thank you.
Mishchara Bet HaMikdash. When the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Tiknu Chachamim, the Chachamim Shayu Boto Dor, that were in that generation, decreed, She'en Bonim Le'olam Binyan Mesuyad U'Mechuyar Kebinyan Melechim, that we don't build any building ever that will be painted and decorated like in its entirety, like the house of a king. אלא תח ביתו בתית וסד בסיד ומשאיר מקום אמה על אמה כנגד הפתח בלא סיד. Rather, you put the plaster and whatever else, and you leave 1 amma by 1 amma. It's not 4 by 4, it's 1 by 1, but it would be 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. That's not painted at all. That's not even plastered at all. Just
How
ugly.
universal is that held by? It doesn't seem like it.
There's no one who argues.
I know it, held by, but in practice,
it
like if
doesn't-
you go like to like a, let's say, a synagogue in Beta Knesset, a place like Bell Harbor, Florida, which is like
No,
a
not,
lot
here
of
it's not talking
money,
about.
chandeliers.
Here we're
and-
talking about our houses.
Oh, okay.
והלוקח חצר מסוידת ומחוירת, and if a person buys a house or they live in a house that's already been decorated, הרי זו בחזקתה, it's already done, ואין מחייבים אותו לקלוף בכתלים, and we don't obligate you to go destroy an amma by amma in your house. But if you're the one painting, you're the one building, then you have to make sure that you leave it. So if you've never painted your house since you bought it, fine. But if you have, there's a halacha that you must leave 1 amma by 1 amma. וכן התקינו, and therefore our rabbis also instituted, שהעורך שולחן לעשות סעודה לאורחים, that if someone sets a table for guests, מחסר ממנו מעט, you take away a little bit from the table. What does that mean? הוא מניח מקום פנוי בלא קערה מן הקערות, הראויות לתת שם. You leave one place setting that's not set. Your table should always look like it's missing a place.
Do you hold by that?
In my house, most of the time we
Chaos.
we don't have room for the people who need to. I mean, if I had an empty seat, somebody would have to be sitting on the couch.
This is for seders or all the time?
All the time.
It's all the time.
וכשהאישה עושה תכשיטי כסף וזהב, again, this is indicative of a Sephardic culture where women had businesses that they were running from their homes, where the woman is making gold and silver jewelry. משיירה ממיני התכשיט שנהגת בהם כדי שלא יהיה תכשיט שלם. She should leave a little bit of the jewelry, not finished.
Mm.
So there shouldn't be a complete piece of jewelry. וכשהחתן עושה אישה, when the groom marries his wife, I did this, I was okay. לוקח אפר מקנה, he takes some burnt ashes, ונותן בראשו, he puts it on his forehead, במקום הנחת תפילין, in the same place where he puts on tefillin. If you look at the high resolution pictures of my wedding, this part of my hair is gray. I had a friend who, I should say this on the camera, was connected to an archaeologist that had something to do with the Temple Mount, and he brought me a little bit of ashes that were dated to the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash from Halabai.
Wow.
And he brought me, he brought it to me in like one of those Parmesan cheese containers, like a little one.
Little vial.
And at the wedding, the manager of the wedding whisked it away, and I never saw it again.
Wow.
I went to look for it. It said, we probably threw it in the garbage.
Oh.
I don't know what it was. But for my wedding, at least, I was like, who put it on me? The Caliph Rebbe was supposed to, but he had just gotten sick. So his son came and he put the ashes on my face. You see my wedding pictures? There's someone putting stuff in my hair. That's what's
That's
happening.
really interesting, because Ash Wednesday,
When I have a religious chatan and kala who ask, and they know the halachot, I have to ask them, do you want me to put ashes in your head? That's most people say no. ויש מקומות שנהגו לשבר כוס בשעת חופה, and there are some places, notice this is, there are some places that have I mean that's the universal custom, but there are some places that have a custom that they break a cup during the chuppah.
before the end, you mean?
Oh.
Some
It says
places.
You
during.
understand how the customs switch? Maran's a universal custom to put ashes in your hair. Nobody does that. Everybody bakes with a glass, which the Ramah records that some people have. או לשום מפה שחורה, או שאר דברי אבלות בראש החתן, and he quotes an Ashkenazi custom, to cover the groom's hair with some kind of black fabric, or anything else that would make him look like a mourner at his wedding.
We got plenty of hats left over from that.
Yeah, pretty much today at a Jewish wedding there's enough black going around that you could feel the temple was destroyed. וכל אלו הדברים, and all of these things are done כדי לזכור את ירושלים, to remember Jerusalem. שנאמר לגצז אם אשכחך ירושלים, if I forget you ירושלים, אם לא אעלה את ירושלים על ראש שמחתי, if I don't lift up Yerushalayim over my greatest joys.
What is Yerushalayim, but what is the Beit HaMikdash? Because we have Yerushalayim.
When we say Yerushalayim, we mean its entirety. Binyan. What do you say? Yerushalayim habenuya. We're not just Yerushalayim, but the rebuilt Yerushalayim. But you should know, in our community, we have some customs at Tisha B'Av that we do a little bit different because we do believe we have Yerushalayim.
And
Yeah,
also on Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Yeah, of course, those are connected to each other. Gimel quotes another halacha. V'chen gazru shlo lanagen b'chlei shir is a very difficult halacha, and the answer to this is simply that the generation didn't accept Maran's rulings. This is not his. This is from the Talmud. But clearly, we suffered so much that we weren't able to uphold this halacha. They made a decree that we will never play musical instruments. Anything that makes musical sounds. Anything that makes people happy, it's forbidden in the Jewish community to play music.
When?
Until the Mashiach comes. If you go to Jerusalem today, in the leftovers, today it's going to be just the ultra-Orthodox camp, because those are the only ones that are still there from Jerusalem, all of the old, not from the temple, from before all the Jews came back home in 1948. Their custom, it's in Sephardim and Ashkenazim, but today it's really the Ashkenazim who uphold this custom, not to have anyone play music at a wedding except for one person with a drum. Boom, boom, boom. He says they're all done, because a drum is not considered music in Halakha. And therefore, he plays a drum, but they don't have any, not pianos, not guitars, not clarinets, not flutes, nothing. That's the way an ultra-Orthodox wedding looks like in Yerushalayim.
Some Muslims do that as well, but not because of the Beit
No,
HaMikdash.
that's for the rhythm of the...
They don't do any instruments or...
Says the Ramah, ויש אומרים, some say, דווקא מי שרגיל בהם. This is referring to somebody, let's see the proper way to interpret, what did they translate like that?
There are those who say the prohibition is specifically for those whom they regularly play them, like for kings who stand and rest,
Correct.
to instruments, or in the house of a feast.
And some say this is only talking about someone who's like constantly with music or in a house of a feast. You saw that? I'm not going to talk about this halakha. It's a very difficult halakha for Jewish people. You find that when the Jews leave Spain, the Chachamim of Spain asked them to play music with Tisha B'Av.
Yeah.
And the reason was they said the morale was so low that any lower than that, the Jewish people would be broken. Some want to say that in a generation like ours, we're not looking to break the Jews more than they're already broken. But that's where the origins of the custom not to listen to music during the 3 weeks comes from. Because at least during the times where we mourn Jerusalem, to uphold these halachot of mourning Jerusalem.
That's live music.
וכבר נהגו כל ישראל, and he says already the custom of the whole Jewish people is to say words of thanks to Hashem over wine. Meaning, we do, but again it has to be words of praise to Hashem. So
That's the last
a
one.
rock concert won't count for that. But the halacha is something that's connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's all mitzvah, bet chatan v'kala, hakol shari, their masses, in all those situations it's all allowed. There was an old, not Sephardic or Ashkenazi, before we became Sephardic or Ashkenazi, an old custom, that the grooms and the brides would wear flower crowns on their heads when they got married. וכן גזרו על עטרות החתנים, they decreed about the crowns of the grooms. שלא להניח כלל, not to put anything on their heads. ושלא יניח חתן בראשו שום כליל, and shouldn't put anything on his head, שנאמר הסיר המצנפת והרים מטרה. וכן גזרו על עטרות הכלה. They also decreed this on the crowns of the kala, where's the tiaras they wear? Im yesh al kesef, it's silver. אבל של גדיל מותר לכלה, but like if it's just a, fake one, it's allowed for a kala. Though not everyone agrees with that. My bride would listen and she didn't put one. ודווקא לחתן וכלה, this is specifically for the groom, the bride and the groom. אבל בשאר כל אנשים לא גזרו, but just to walk around with crowns and things like that, there's no decree that you can't wear crowns, it's for the bride and the groom. I mean, since Yerushalayim's crown fell, also our crown falls. We don't wear it anymore. And then the last halacha, it sounds like it came straight out of Lithuania. אסור לאדם שימלא פיו שחוק בעולם הזה. It's forbidden for a person to fill their mouth with laughter in this world. Where do you learn that from?
Joke.
אז ימל לשחוק פינו שולנו עינה. Then, when, at the day of Yerushalayim, then will our mouth be full of laughter. From here, Chachamim learn that until then it cannot be full of laughter. And Mishnah Berurah says, "Shasimcha yitera meshakech hamitzvot," because excessive joy makes one forget the mitzvot. And the Taz and the Prisha, they write that even b'simcha shel mitzvah, even a joy of a mitzvah, kegon b'chatuna, like at a wedding, or b'purim, or in Purim, lo yimaleh piv schok, you can't fill your mouth with laughter. Now, I think the key word here of the Mishnah Berurah is excessive. Excessive. A person has to be healthy and happy, and you should know, I have a Kabbalah from my rabbi. There are a lot of these halachot, not specifically these, but the halachot where you find Chachamim are being very intense about remembering destruction and being humble, and we're talking to very healthy people who are emotionally healthy, not just physically, emotionally healthy. That okay, if you didn't laugh too much, you're okay. Because in today's world, this could be like a pikuach nefesh issue. He said the person who doesn't listen to music for 49 days of Sfirat Omer, there's some depressed teenager already. They're really taking all kinds of medication. No, really, the medications are suicidal. He says, and now you took away the only place they run away to for comfort. He says you could be murdering people. One has to be very careful with these halachot to realize sometimes the generations from which these halachot were said are not the same generations we're talking about. Oh, it sounds so reform. I know it's for sure that someone's going to watch this on YouTube and cut this out and put me on a channel somewhere. And yeah, you sound like the Torah is relevant, it changes. It's not Torah. Here we're not talking about Torah. These are decrees of Chachamim. Chachamim decrees for their generation because they know their generation. The same way the Chachamei Sfarad made a decree on Tisha B'Av to play music because they knew their generation. And the worst thing we could do to the Chachamim of any generation is to tie their hands behind their back and to not let them do anything, because then you get a Judaism like that of today, which is so stiff that it breaks.
And also, you kind of dilute the effect of Tisha B'Av restrictions before Tisha B'Av, because if you're forced to do this during the year, a lot of these same restrictions, then what's
you
so
wouldn't really feel on Tisha B'Av. But imagine this. I'm gonna flip this on you. Imagine if the Jewish people really consciously, it was part of our halakha, just like we keep Shabbat and kosher, to constantly be cognizant of the fact that we are in exile, that we don't belong here, that we need to go home, that Beit HaMikdash is destroyed. Imagine what would have happened in 1948. Do you think there would be one Jew left outside of Israel? If that was our consciousness, we would all be there already. It's because we've allowed ourselves to get comfortable again that we don't even feel this compelling urge to go. And therefore, I think you're right that but on the other hand, we lost something. We lost the tremendous yearning and a longing for Yerushalayim that I don't think that the Jewish world has. I'm talking about the religious world. I'm not religious world, I'm not judging. How are they supposed to know what they're supposed to do if they don't know? No, I don't judge everyone. Am Yisrael that does know, that pretends to know, instead of having extra stringencies about tzitzit, maybe think a little more about Israel. But it's very difficult because this has to happen on a national level, not just a communal level, on a national level. And it's a scary thought because you think about the Jews who left Egypt, and according to the Midrashim, 1/5 of the Jews left Egypt because everybody else was comfortable and stayed there. 4/5 of the Jewish people stayed behind.
Slavery.
Yeah, because it's better. It's the fear of the unknown is terrifying. And my slavery is better than going to Israel and what's going to be if I don't speak the language and I can't find a job and an apartment. And it's scary. I'd rather just stay here. It's a choice that I don't know that our great-great-grandparents would have made. To stay in the comfort of the shtetl or some little village in Morocco where they came to massacre us every other weekend, they would have not made that decision.
You're like, we're out of here.
Yeah, we're gonna. You give me an opportunity to get out of here, I'm going.
When they got the chance, in '68 in Morocco, it
It
was a
went
massive
massive
exodus.
out of there.
And the problem is that many of them, when they ended up in Israel, was tougher than they expected.
There's a documentary that just came out now. Salach.
My wife's family left. after
It's
a
called
year.
Salach here is Eretz Israel. It's in Hebrew, but I'm sure they're English subtitles. I'm sure I have to go check again. It's similar to the one I showed you about the kidnapped children from Yemen. And here it talks about when the Sephardic Jews came to Israel, the attitude that was there, and the intentional discrimination on behalf of real authorities of the government. You should know, by the way, in here, the Haredi narrative is correct. The Ashkenazi Haredi narrative of these secular Zionists came here and wanted to manipulate Jews and use them however they pleased, they're not lying. Simply, they're using it for the wrong cause. I mean, they're right. They were there. They were witnesses to the story. I can't tell you they were any better, but they were witnessing the story. Yeah, but that recounting of history is accurate. It's simply what they wish to do with it that is inaccurate. Okay, so the state of Israel made mistakes. The state of Israel had evil things. So now, wait, what do you want us to do? You want us to get rid of Israel? You want us to dismantle it and hand it over? What do you want? Like, what are you asking us for? That's the question. That's where we differ on what it. But the history is real. It's there, and it has to be spoken about. It's not the shame. You know, I when I was, sometimes I would be in people's houses. How could you be a Zionist? You're a Yemenite. That's exactly why. You know, my grandfather didn't even come to America for our weddings. That's why he said, they took you and they kidnapped you. And I said, I'm right here. Nobody kidnapped me. Nobody took me. Nobody butchered me. Nobody. He said, yeah, but your family is. I said, yeah, my family also. Of course. I said, but what do you want? You want to use me for your agenda? Because my family came out of those stories all very proud to be Jewish and very proud of Israel. I said, you want to use my story to, further your agenda? Don't do it. I'm not your guinea pig. I'm not your pity case. That's not the accurate way to do it. Both Sfaradim and Ashkenazim gave up a lot to be in Israel, to have what we have today, and we have to focus on what we do with that to go forward. What?
They did their own operation.
Yeah, for sure. Samar and the Yemenites. Sometimes I wonder if it could be worse than what was done. Maybe not in numbers, but in cruelty. At least they're friends and they share the same. Alright, so we'll continue tomorrow, Dr. Jim.
Thank you very much.